Hello lovely people. Relatively lovely day, but it is a bit chilly. So today what we're going to do is we're going to try to swap these head units. So I have this joying, which is a 10-inch, and I recently received this Atoto S8 Ultra. I do have an optical cable ready because the joying runs from coax. This one doesn't have a coax, this one has only optical, so I need to run the optical cable through the side, and it should be a relatively easy swap. I think I will need only some screwdrivers and that's it. I hope that's gonna fit. So let's swap it out and let's see what this can do and how it behaves. Okay, so first order of business is to remove the old one. It's pretty easy, just remove this. Ribbon cable comes off. This goes in the back. Now I need to redo these screws that hold my fascia. Just like that. The fascia comes off. Like that. And I do have some wires, factory ones, pretty much like that. So now what I need to make sure that the new head unit fits through this hole. That's a comparison. You can see it is doubled in, but it's very, very shallow. So let's have a look. Is it gonna fit? Nope, not really. Okay, so when I did this fascia, I did model it according to like a double-din chassis, and I didn't model it to a specific head unit. So what I'm gonna do with this one, I think, because it fits pretty well like that, is just what I need to do is I need to mount it somehow from the back, so it's not gonna fall off, because you can see it does fit perfectly well. So it's not gonna be mounted to the actual cage over there, but just to this fascia, and since it is very, very strong, it will be fine. So I just need to find a solution to mount it like that. Okay, so what I found in this whole kit, because it has a lot of accessories, there are two little trims. One is a small one like that, and the other one is slightly bigger that goes like on top of the head unit. And now I'm just trying to see which one fits better, because with this one, what I can do, I can mount it from inside and it goes flush just like that. So I will be able to mount it in the cage. Or alternatively, I can use a smaller one, and the smaller one has these little like recessed grooves, and if I'm gonna put it in, there we go, it gets a little bit recessed and it looks a little bit better. I cannot do it with one hand. So as long as the cage is perfectly aligned with this trim, I might use this one and see how it looks like. So yeah, now I just need to test fit, remove that one, test fit, and see if it's holding in place. And I just discovered something else browsing through this. So it has these little metal brackets, plates, and these corner ones as well. So these corner ones, I have them installed over there on that one. But this one, if you put this one on the side, basically this becomes as a normal 2-din head unit, just for mounting purposes. So it will have a lot of space behind it, but the screws line up and you have a normal 2-din unit, so that makes my life much easier. I removed the joying just to show you how simple it is for me personally to replace the head unit, because since I'm not using any like factory integration or anything, all of these wires, they're just there because they are. But what I need is, I need 3 wires for the power, which is positive, negative, and remote. That's it. The remote to the amplifiers and the DSP comes from the whole car ignition, so I'm not using the head unit to turn on the amps in the back. So 3 wires for that. Then I have a GPS antenna, a 3.5mm jack for the microphone, which is this for free hands, and 1 single RCA for the coax. So instead of this, is going to be, now I'm going to be using the optical cable. And that's it. Cameras, like rear cameras, for the rear and the front, there's just 2 cables, and that's it. Just literally a few wires, and I can replace the head unit in 10 minutes. This is the benefit of a simplified install when you don't have any factory integration or anything. So let me swap some wires and, oh yeah, so this is how it looks like. There we go. If you watch the joining review, when I opened it up, it had kind of the same internals as this one. So yeah, same 2-din chassis, but that one is just pretty empty. Okay, that's my DIY cage coming off. Come out. There we go. Now, the actual radio. The radio is gonna be like that. Something like this. Okay, let's try. Just a test fit. Yeah, looks cool. Okay, let's do a test fit just to see with no wires, no nothing. This one goes in like that. There we go. And the fascia is gonna go in like, so I need to push the head unit way back, and I think even the angle is not gonna be right for this. It is aligned, but the problem is that I see this, the angle of the head unit is different from my fascia. So I will need to leave it on one screw and probably try to tilt it. And as well, I need to push it back much more. So I need to remove these little tabs so I could push it back more. Okay, attempt number 2. There's this. There we go. Now I can push it up much deeper. Let's secure it in place with just one screw, so I could potentially pivot it however I want. One over there and one here. So I could, like this, I could tilt it. Let's put it in and see what happens. Okay, this one goes in. Yeah, so see, now I can tilt it however I want. See if it's deep enough for this fascia. It looks like it's deep enough. Let's try to put it in actually. This one in. All the wires. So I can put the fascia on and see how far off are we. Let's put this one in as well. There we go. Okay. Something like this. Yeah, nice. Look, it goes in very nice. So it is a little bit angled like that, but the gaps, yes, this is my trimming, so you know how I did. So it is gonna be recessed, but it does go there. So now I just need to somehow make sure of the angle. So I don't need to push it more deeper. It's just perfect. The depth is perfect. Now it's just the angle like that all the way on the top, probably. Tighten it up, and that's it. Now probably the most crucial step is to make sure that it's actually powering up. So I did connect power, ground and remote, literally 3 wires, and that's it. Let's plug it in and let's see if it turns on. And there you go, Atoto Android, good stuff. Because I don't want to take the dash apart again in case it's not going to power up. So yay, it's working. Now I'll just need to connect the optical and the GPS antenna, because I will be using the navigation And probably the only other thing is, oh, the microphone is exactly the same. The rear view camera, that's the only thing. I just need to figure out which one is it. Which one is the rear view camera? Oh, front as well, so it has both front and rear. Number 3, sorry, front camera input, and number 7, rear camera input. So it's gonna be interesting to see if joying camera is gonna work with it. It should, because it's just RCA plugs. And the only other thing is the power, which is this red thing, I think. And this should be, I don't know, I'm gonna figure it out, but just a few connections, and I'm gonna put it in and see how it works. So one thing that I noticed is the GPS antenna is slightly different from the joying. So joying has like a screw-on thingy, and this one has a plug, but it's the same thing, it's just different connectors. And I'm just gonna pull out the old one, put the new one in. And the other thing I noticed is that this one needs a Wi-Fi antenna, whereas the joying was, I think it had like a built-in antenna, so this needs a Wi-Fi as well. So I'll need to connect that one. Okay, so we're in the optical. The optical is here. The only thing that you need to remember with the optical is no sharp bends, because obviously. So I chose, it's a cheap cable. I don't know what the brand is, probably no brand, but it has a very thick jacket. So it doesn't allow for any sharp bends. And yeah, optical, where is it? Over here, just like that. Click, it's in, that's it. I did connect the rear camera just to see if it's gonna work. I think it still needs power from somewhere because it has this red wire. So probably I'm gonna connect it to maybe amplifier output or power antenna. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna connect and see if it helps, if it works or not. If not, then I'm gonna grab 12 volts from car's ignition. Amplifier turn on. Let's try this one. One thing that I almost forgot is the USB, because I need USB plugs. So one of these is a USB 2, quick charge, and external storage. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. So these, I just need to route it through there into the glove box, because I had this from the joying. And yeah, almost forgot. Otherwise, I would be with no music. Yeah, it does have like a micro SD slot here, but it's not ideal. I want a USB stick. So yeah, I need to connect that one. The good thing about this radio, like with 210 format, is that you have so much space for all the wires and everything. Because when you have like a normal 210, you have very little space in there when you cram all the wires in. So even if you have like loads of these, yeah, I'm gonna tape them up, but you have plenty of space for all the wires and everything. And if you're crying now that I'm doing just normal splice and tape, it's gonna be for a few weeks and that's it. Then it's gonna come out. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or I'm gonna have the joying back in. It depends. But that's the thing, I have no idea if I'm gonna keep it, so it's pointless for me to like to do all the soldering and everything just to do all the proper connections, because again, I have no idea if I'm gonna keep it or not. So it's kind of pointless, you know. Again, stop crying. Everything is just temporary, yeah? Don't comment that it looks like shit. I don't care. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we're good. Just a few last connections. These are my voltmeters. This one is for the lithium, in the back just to see if it's fully charged, if the DC-DC charge is working. So that's that. These are 3 wires because they turn on from ignition. They're not always on. And the second one is for my front battery. Again, just to see how the alternator is doing and stuff. And that's pretty much it. These side trim pieces. That's one. The other one there. Perfect. Screw it back on. Now, the only thing that can happen is it's not going to turn on. Something is not going to... Probably I should have tested the camera and stuff, just to make sure that it's working. But if it's not going to be working, I'm going to take it apart again. It's not that hard. It's just literally four screws for the fascia, another 4 screws for that trim, and it's going to come off. Okay, cool. Let's turn it on, and let's see if it's actually working. Okay, I think I'm ready, and I'm going to show you the actual boot time. So ignition on, and let's see how long it's going to take to boot. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a bit faster than I expected, so probably it booted before. Yeah, the camera's not working. I'll need to figure it out. Now I need to double check the DSP settings for the optical instead of coax. Okay, so it is a quick charge cable. I'm not sure if my Pixel actually has quick charge, but just double check. I'm gonna plug in my Pixel, so it does show 5.14 volts. I'm gonna plug it in. Have half an amp. How much battery I have? I have 67% battery, so probably that's why it's not gonna go any higher than that. 0.3, 0.4. Okay, so the problem is that I don't have anything quick charge that needs quick charging right now. The only thing that I have is this, just a power brick. So if I'm gonna plug it in just like that, I have okay, so half an amp, but it's 8.6 volts, so it does go up. I will test it when my Pixel goes down, so because I think my Pixel supports a little bit of quick charge. But yeah, it looks like claim is fine, quick charge compatible. What I noticed straight away while playing with this, just a little bit, just for a few seconds, it's super responsive. It's much more responsive compared to the Joying. It is much faster. So let's have a look. Wi-Fi, what is connected to? It does connect to the home Wi-Fi, so the Magic Box is my home Wi-Fi. I do have a few bars. The Joying didn't really reach my home Wi-Fi. It showed as connected, but there was no connection. But this one is connected. It is much snappier. The screen is very bright. But oh man, compared to the Joying, this is much more snappier. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna browse through the menu, just see what I can set up, what works, what's not working, and I'm gonna use it for a bit. I still need to put some apps on here as well, and I'm gonna report back how this thing behaves. But so far, I like it. The screen, it is much smaller, obviously, look, compared to the Joying. It's a massive difference. But yeah, it's cool. So far, so good. Man, this screen, it is a very cool screen. I haven't tested it in direct sunlight, but it is very bright off axis. And this, as I probably mentioned like 3 times already, it's much snappier than the Joying. Everything works much faster. Now, in regards to the sound settings and everything, it is exactly the same as we had in the previous. So we had EQ left, right, with no indication how much is up, how much is down. We have all of these functions like loudness. It's exactly the same as we had before. I turned off literally everything, but this Ultra unit has exactly the same settings as we had in the MS version, and it's pretty basic for what you get. You can go only up to 250 hertz on your crossover, so you cannot set up tweeters on the other channels. If you want to run the inbuilt amplifier, it has to be like widebands like I have, so you can cross them at 250. So yeah, pretty basic, pretty much everything exactly the same as we had, so literally no improvements there. But now I'm gonna spend a few days with it, see if it lags, if it does anything, and then I'm gonna report back.